A really exciting guest today.
Yes, we
Inspiring.
do. And here in North Carolina, we got some more rain last night, but at least it's halfway cool today. But that's not been for the last week and a half. It's been over 100, and glad it cooled off a little bit today. But today we have a Michael and I met, I guess, Mike about a year ago, and he's a tax strategist who shared his ideas with over 2,000 CPAs and tax advisors over the past 30 years. And all of his business comes from partnerships with wealth advisors and CPAs, but especially is tax elimination for business owners and those who pay a lot in taxes. I know because he's got some absolute great strategies. Last year, he saved clients over $100 million in taxes and debt, and his goal is to double that in 2025. And this is kind of a neat note. He's also a three-time national racquetball champion. Well, I never made it to nationals, but I was the Southeast United States
Right.
regional champion at one time
Oh,
for my
wow.
age group. But I miss it. I don't get to play anymore because I blew my knees out. But other than that, I just play golf and work. But why don't you start off with asking the questions?
Oh, 100%. Okay. So, how did you get started in this industry?
So um I started out as a commercial lender. I went through a very prestigious banking training management training program, what was then the Bank of New York. At that time, the oldest bank in the country. It's now part of the whole Chase, JP Morgan Chase network. But long story short, as a commercial lender, you're dealing with businesses, looking at financial statements, talking to a lot of CPAs. I enjoyed that. But the problem I had, and this is my personality, is that I was too entrepreneurial to remain in banking. A lot of approvals need to happen, a lot of meetings, a lot of memorandums. I felt like I wanted to make it rain. I wanted to bring in more business, and I was being held down. So at some point, I decided, you know what? When I was in NYU, I was pitching stocks. I would get into a train, go a few stops, go down to Wall Street, and I was interrupting people's dinners at night. Good evening. This is Michael Lagos. I'm calling for, the firm I was with was an IPO firm. And I would just introduce, I enjoyed that action. I wanted to go back in that world. But when I started coming in, the owner of what is called a broker dealer challenged me and said, Michael, you know so many CPAs. Instead of trying to get referrals from them, there's a new revolution. They are now becoming the registered reps, the financial advisors. And so, why don't you create a group of them, work with them, develop them, live off an override versus getting referrals from them? Did that several hundred times.
Wow.
Well, that kind of answers my second question, Michael, about many talk about working with CPAs, and you recruited hundreds of them, over 2,000. But basically, what's your secret to doing that, though, really?
Well, first of all, I don't know if you'll ever meet anybody who failed with as many CPAs as I have. And that's partly in jest because I've also had, I've, I've, for over 30 years, I talk to these guys every week, and many of them are new. So the numbers are a big part of my success. I talk to them continually, still haven't enjoy it. And I think they can sense that from me. These are people who in the advisory world, they're oftentimes seen as the bad guy, the people who are going to put their foot down. I saw them as my greatest allies. I wanted to be their asset versus overcome their issues. So instead of, trying to win over business owners, high net worth clients, I won over their advisors. And the advisors then brought me the clients and we worked on them together. That was the overall thing because it is very difficult when you're winning over a client and then they bring their CPA to come in and give an opinion on some advice that goes into taxation, and they're already thinking my client is going to get upset if they say you're supposed to give me the tax advice. Why am I getting these ideas from someone else? They're playing defense. So I want to make sure that they're in a strong position and I make them my partner. So I share with them the ideas. And if they think that there's a client that fits, we discuss that together.
Wow.
Okay.
And then I think that's such a important thing. And I love the fact when you talk about, the relationship and how you make yourself available for all of them and building that relationship. Because a lot of times we don't do that, Michael, and we run into a lot of issues where we don't understand the whole customer service, the whole relationship building. And I think that's definitely how your career has evolved is relationships.
That's exactly what it comes down to. If you could bring it down to one word, that's it. I build and nurture tax and accounting professionals, relationships with them. That is my big goal. And my thing is share concepts and talk their language. They talk taxes. They don't talk funds. They don't talk indices. They don't talk Bitcoin. They talk the tax code. They're dealing with clients with heavy burdens. And so I share those ideas with them that potentially apply to their clients. Oftentimes they're approached by advisors saying, hey, give me a shot, throw me a bone. We've got some great models and, tax efficient, this and that. Meanwhile, they don't know who the accountant is and what they do. So my whole thing is, Neil, if you're the CPA, Neil, I want to get to know you and your practice. If you have a few minutes, I'd love to hear, what you're doing and how you see yourself going forward. And then if there's any opportunity, I'll share with you what we do that perhaps might be of relevance to your practice.
Oh, 100%. And and that's the name of the game, right, Alan?
Absolutely. Michael, where did you get the idea for the name of your company?
Where did I come from? It's the way I see myself. I see myself as a rainmaker, right? And I purposely changed the spelling of the word rain because the people I've worked with over the years, they really control their own kingdom, right? They own their own firms and they see themselves as the leader. And what I do is I put them on a higher level with their clients so that they really have the control over the relationships. And partly it's just my personality, right? When I come into something, I want to win. I want to be the best at it. And I want my partners to be the same.
And I could see that because the way you lead is the way everyone else will follow. And that's
Yes.
what a leader does ultimately in so many ways. And you've been doing this for a very, very long time. What do you enjoy most about your work? Because again, if we don't, we're not going to be successful unless we enjoy what we do. And if we don't, we're going to be miserable and really we're not going to grow to where we need to go.
There are different levels. And that is, my clients are the advisors. That's how I see it. If I'm able to get them to a higher level of service and relationship with their clients, I love that. Hey, my client is looking at a potential, literally multi-billion dollar tax. Do you have any ideas, Michael? Yes, I do. Let's go over them together. And if they make sense to you and you think that they should be introduced to your client, then let's have that discussion. But I always have ideas. So I love that. We're never short of ideas. And the fact that I can help someone be their sounding board and provide them with more solutions than they had before, increasing their value to their relationships, that's powerful for me. It's juice. It really is. And yeah, at the end of the day, you're taking score. How much did we save the client in taxes? And at some point, these things really add up. We're working on a deal now with over $1 billion in potential tax savings. One deal.
Now, you
Wow.
specialize in overlooked sections of the tax code. Can you just share a couple of them with us?
Yes, without like throwing up on you. Yeah, I'll throw out.
Yeah.
Um, there's this thing, Section 7(9), for example, been in the tax code since 1953, deals with employee benefits, allows the owner to put away benefits for themselves at significant amounts, very low control, low cost for their rank and file employees. Most people really underestimate Section 101A, the tax-free treatment of death benefit of life insurance policies. When you look at the world of financial instruments, most people don't understand that life insurance enjoys probably the best tax favored treatment But because of the bias, the second you hear insurance, people just shut you out. And I understand that, but there are those who benefit from it. Right? People living the rest of their lives generating tax-free loans or what they would consider income for themselves and living off that. Most people don't have that knowledge. Section 162, if you're a business owner, executive bonuses, right? Something that you could pay your key employees. Section 168 and 179, what's that? Bonus depreciation. Section 179 allows you to purchase certain equipment and write off the whole cost and get a huge deduction for that. Section 181, something's been around since 2004, 2005. It's a Jobs Creations Act designed to protect Hollywood, where you could invest in certain movies and get the full write-off on your purchase of that movie. And oftentimes these are leveraged. So you're getting 4 to 1 sometimes on your investment, $4 in deductions for every dollar you invest, and you own the movie. So if God forbid you invest in like a Die Hard, Home Alone, these you're getting basically mailbox money. So these are some of just I could come up with more, but these are just some of the ones that just jump out at us.
This is impressive. I'm going to have to talk to you about, I'm starting a streaming network, so we'll definitely have to talk offline about that and looking at financing of it and all getting the whole streaming network together. I'm working with a couple people and they're just letting me get my eyes and ears in it. I have a lot of different things and different things I'm dealing with. All right. So let's talk about, you also talk about minimizing taxes and building wealth instead. Give us an example of what you mean.
So most people, when they think of wealth management, they're talking about taking the money they have and growing it. What they don't understand for a lot of clients is there's a significant amount of wealth they're not building because they're paying the IRS. So there was a judge in the early 1900s. His name was Judge Learned Hand. And he had a few quotes attributed to him regarding taxation. Here's the one that I really like. In America, there are two systems of taxation, one for the informed, one for the uninformed. Both are legal. So this whole business, that I started really came out of scripture, where, the tax collectors were trying, the Pharisees were trying to trap Jesus, saying, should we pay taxes? And he said, show me a coin. Whose face is on the coin? Well, Caesar's. Well, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, give unto God what is God's. That's what the quote was. When I read that back years ago, I'm like, that's the problem. People are giving Caesar more than he's asking for because they don't know the code. The code is over 75,000 pages today. I just know certain sections very well. So building wealth, to me, I add another dimension by creating significant tax savings that remain in your pocket that your advisors can grow for you and with you. That's my definition or that's where I really do my work in wealth management.
What types of clients benefit most from what you do?
The heavily taxed. Usually, these are people who, oftentimes, these are people who are about to sell an asset. We've worked with people who co-founded different cryptos. We've had multi-billion, like over $1 billion in transactions. Imagine being able to say to somebody, we can put that asset in a potentially tax-free environment before you liquidate it. Now what happens to your capital gains?
Yeah.
We could make it disappear.
Absolutely.
And again, when I meet with that client, their CPA was the one who arranged the meeting. So think about the endorsement that's already there without me asking for it. If your CPA sets up a meeting and wants you to hear this strategy, the likelihood is they already had some sort of vetting process and they thought it was worth your time to hear. It makes life a lot easier when the CPAs and you are working together and they're bringing the client and you're working together for their solutions.
Exactly. Because if you're working for their solutions, they're going to be like, okay, I want to work with you. You're not telling them you're doing the wrong things. for sure. Where do you see this industry in the next 5 years?
I see more collaboration amongst different professionals with different expertise. I am seeing a lot more of those exit events, selling my company, selling real estate, selling my crypto portfolio. Um, you're going to need to know a lot more about the tax code if you're in the advisory world, and you're going to want to partner with people who can navigate through those very successfully. And that means working together with financial advisors, attorneys, CPAs, insurance professionals, if necessary, real estate professionals sometimes. So I see a lot more collaboration, and I think the most successful practices will continue down that road.
Well, Michael, my last question was define success, but I want to say a couple things here. I talked to you, I guess, about a month ago, and you said you kind of been off the grid. Well, I had no idea. Michael's got stage 4 pancreatic cancer, everybody, and he's
Lung
defeated
cancer, lung cancer.
lung cancer. Yeah, that's my daughter-in-law died at 39 from pancreatic cancer. My brother died from lung cancer. My daughter has recovered from breast cancer, but she also has Graves' disease and thyroid eye condition. There's no cure for it. And cancer has really affected my life, but I think success for both Michael and I is we've defeated, or I haven't defeated, but Michael's defeated this terrible, terrible disease. And this is what got me started in the business, Michael. When my daughter-in-law died of pancreatic cancer, I was like 99% of people out there that thought life insurance was a death product, that you had to die to benefit from it, because my son had been disabled for 3 years and still not getting his disability. Now I'm helping him out, but if it had not been for the death benefit, which she accessed through a terminal illness rider within 1 year of diagnosis with tax-free money, which was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, my son would be bankrupt, and it took a huge financial strain off of me. And when you talk about the value of life insurance, it's the greatest wealth transfer vehicle out there. There's many people out there that, they don't have the proper planning. They don't have rules and trust set up. And it's just like Prince the Entertainer that died. It went to probate. I have a definition for that probate. It's a lawsuit that's initiated by you that you're going to pay for and you're going to lose, because the government goes in, confiscates all your assets, sells them to pay the taxes on your estate, and his beneficiary may be left with 20, 25%, but attorneys get 6 to 12% for legal fees. And people need to be educated on all this stuff. As I tell Neil and a lot of my clients, I said, I have specialists on my team. And what I mean by specialist, let's say, Michael, I'm your medical doctor. I can treat you for minor illnesses, minor injuries. But if you need your knee operated on, you want an orthopedic surgeon, the specialist. And that's what I have on my team: tax-specific attorneys, CPAs, and other specialists in their fields. And we collaborate together to solve people's financial problems. But Michael, you're a specialist that I want you to be part of my team also. And I think the future for you is extremely bright. I hope we can further our relationship through this podcast and other things that I plan on doing with you. And it's been a pleasure to have you on here.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Best place people can connect with you. Where can they go?
Well, they can go to my website. It's rainstormgroup.com. The word rain is spelled REIGN, stormgroup.com. And that's the best way they could do that. And all my information is there, so they could get a hold of me.
I think it's fabulous. And I think anybody that's able to think out of the box like you do and Alan does, I want in my corner. Because at the end of the day, when I meet new people all the time, I'm like, I want to be able to help them with solutions, especially as a marketer, podcaster, CMO for many companies. I see the power of relationships myself. And if I can connect people like Michael and Alan to as many people as possible, that's the goal, is finding the people so that say, hey, you did me that favor. Someday I'm going to do you a favor. But if they don't, at least you've helped them tremendously by connecting them to the right people. Because a lot of times people connect, but they don't connect to the right people, Michael. And it sounds like you definitely have had great success and continued success. And I'm so glad that you were able to defeat this horrible disease. All right. So also, Alan, strategicwealthstrategies.com. Email Alan at strategicwealth, the number 0 at gmail.com, or call him at 910-551-1046. Appreciate it, guys.
All right. Thank you.
All right. That was the Strategic Wealth Strategies podcast.